Welcome to College Algebra, Section 2.3, Part 2. My name is Gregory Carlson, and this is a very important section because we're talking about functions, domain, and range. So remember, a relation is a group of ordered pairs, and a function is similar. A function takes a group of inputs called the domain, maps them to a group of outputs called the range, but each input can only go to one output. So let's look at this relation right here and determine if it's a function or not. When you're looking at xy pairs like this, the first number is the input and the second number is the output. So if we're doing this, then that means that 4 is getting mapped to 4. So 4 is getting mapped to itself. 4 is the input and output. 5 gets mapped. 6 is being mapped to -6. And 7 is being mapped to -7. So each one of these numbers is being mapped to a different number. Also, more importantly, each number is only going to one number. So this is a function. This is a function because every input only goes to one output. Let's see if D is a function. 1 is going to 2, that's good. 2 is going to 1, that's fine. 3 is going to 3, and 5 is going to 3. Now notice that both 3 is going to 3 and 5 is going to 3. That's okay. It's still a function because each input is only going to one output. How about letter E? Is this a function? 1 goes to 5, 2 goes to 10, 1 goes to 8, 3 goes to 7. So here we have a problem. 1 is going to 5 and 1 is going to 8. This is an example of something that is not a function. We have 1 getting mapped to 5 and 8, so that's bad. That makes this, well, it's not really bad, but it makes it not a function. How about F? Is F a function? What do you think? -3 goes to 6, 4 goes to 4, 6 goes to 6. So far so good, but -3 goes to -6. That's bad. -3 is going to 6, and -3 is going to -6. So that's bad. That is not a function. You can also tell if there's a function based on looking at a graph. So all of these are relations. X's are our inputs, and Y's are the outputs. So domain is X, range is Y. And the way you can tell if something is a function or not is by doing what I call, or what is called, the vertical line test. And the way the vertical line test works is if you can draw a vertical line through the graph and it touches the graph in two places, then that means it's not a function. So the vertical line test is if you can draw a line through a graph and it touches in two places, it's not a function. So in looking at this first one, is this a function? Yes. Every line I draw vertically only touches the graph in one place, so this is a function. How about this one? Is this a function? And I know these graphs aren't on your paper, so please add them to your paper. Every vertical line I draw through this, although it gets steeper and steeper, each vertical line only touches it once, so that's a function. Is this one going to be a function? Well, no, because if I draw a vertical line through here, and you only need one, that touches the line in two places, so that is not a function. Why is it not a function? Because this input is going to two outputs. I only have one X input right here going to two Y outputs, and that makes it not a function. For a function, one input goes to one output. This function looks kind of strange. It's called a piecewise function. You see I have a solid dot, which means I do have graph, then a line, and then an empty dot, which means I don't have graph at the empty dot. So is this a function? And the answer is actually yes, because every line I draw through it is vertical, is only going to touch the graph in one place, and if I draw a line through these weird steps, it's going through the graph here, but this is an empty dot, so that actually doesn't count as part of the graph. So I'm actually only touching the graph in one place. So this actually is okay. This is a function. Do you see how this one might be different? We'll look at it in a second. What about this one? Is this a function? Well, I draw the vertical lines through it. I only touch it one time, so that's a function. Same with this one. Even though it kind of curves back and forth, it passes the vertical line test. What about the circles we did in the last section? Is this a function? Nope. You can draw a line through it that touches in two places. Now, do be aware that we can draw a line through it that only touches in one place, called a tangent line. But even though we can do that, again, the rule is if you can draw a single line through it that touches in two places, then that means it's not a function anymore. So this is not. And this is also not a function. Even though I can draw some lines through it that only touch the graph once, because I start and end with solid dots, if I draw a line through at the step, it touches in two places. So that's not going to work. That dot is touching in two places, so this is not a function. Let's do one more really quick. Do you think this is a function? Do you think this graph is a function? I mean, we passed the vertical line test here, and we passed the vertical line test here, but there's a single line you can draw that touches the graph in an infinite number of places. So this one jump with the connected line makes this one not a function. So hopefully that makes sense to you. And what we're going to do now, that we've talked about the vertical line test and the difference between relations and functions, is we are going to look at how to actually evaluate functions. And let's actually do this in part 3. So I will see you starting in part 3.